right, we'll start now, and we'll start with introducing ourselves. I'm Laurie Reynolds, and I'm the Director of Program Services at CASIC. And Tracy?
I'm Tracy Jespersen. I'm the Prevention Educator at CASIC.
And so today we're looking a little bit deeper, into that youth empowerment program that Julie was talking about with the prevention talk. And what we're going to do is, what we will do is just kind of explain to you why we're here, where it came from. And so we have our Hope Chautauqua Coalition, and HOPE, by the way, is an actual acronym, and it stands for Healthy Opportunities for Prevention Education. And so it's actually a state initiative grant, and we have to abide by so many rules and regulations for that grant. And so we have the HOPE leaders, kind of like our board, and then the Hope Chautauqua as a whole coalition. And under that are some actual subcommittees. These are just a quick glimpse as to what subcommittees there are. There are many more. One of them is our Parent or Adult Awareness Committee. We have our Bright Spots Committee. And what we're kind of focusing on today is our Youth Advisory Committee. And with that, we actually took a look at a program that we're going to be using in the schools in our community called the Youth Empowerment Program. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And all of this is kind of based on this guy here, this huge binder. It's an actual curriculum with activities. We have a jump drive. We have a lot of different things that we can share with you. But because we only have so much time, we can't obviously get to everything. But this is where we get it from, just to give you an idea.
Who is that through?
This is from the Dover Youth to Youth.
Okay.
It's Dover, New Hampshire, and it's their Youth to Youth program. One Voice Youth Empowerment Toolkit, actually. Let's see if this works now. It does.
Okay, so we're going to just look at really quickly things that we've talked about and heard about this morning, which is why would we involve youth and how they're essential. And obviously, like we've discussed and heard earlier today, youth is one of the most important essential components to making any change in our community. And so youth can impact their community and themselves at the same time by getting involved in this program. So up on here it says that it promises impacts on 2 levels. So the impact on the community that the group of youth might have as they participate in all of the stuff in this toolkit that we're going to be talking about, and then also the impact on themselves. It just literally empowers them. They buy into the idea of change as they're working through the process. And it says in here, the last line, that they literally will practice what they preach. So they'll make personal changes as they try to change their larger community. And so it says Youth Empowerment Program outcomes are measured on these couple of ways that we're going to look at. So improve in self-efficacy, media literacy, and presentation skills. And these are all things that they'll have the opportunity to get involved in. And then it will also increase their engagement in pro-social activities. So again, kind of practicing what they preach. And then it talks about, which Laurie will go into more in depth in a second, but there's a process, knowledge, skill, and then action. So we'll look at that a little more in depth.
Which is right now, actually. So if you can refer to your little brochure that we handed out, this is an actual kind of advertisement for especially health teachers or youth-led agencies. This is kind of like the basis of it all. It's our youth advocacy, taking on the threat of alcohol and other drug abuse. And so the 3 core elements are knowledge, skills, and action. And so we're going to dive into this a little bit more. As you open it up, they're just kind of showing you the 3 steps. But let's kind of take the microscope and dive into this. In order for something to change in a community or in our situation, we're going to use the opiate epidemic that we've been discussing all day today. In order for something to change, you have to have the knowledge to know about the drug itself and how it impacts the community. So for an example, in order to make any change about opiates or heroin, students need to actually gain the knowledge about what it is, what type of family it's from, you know, whether it's a narcotic or depressant, things like that, and then kind of the effects and leading the ripple effect in the community. So if they don't have that information first to then go with the skills and so on, then we're kind of missing the whole point for the students to really lead and guide the way through in our community. So
then the next step obviously is we want to teach them the skills. Once they have the knowledge base and they know the knowledge behind what they're trying to make the change, then we have to help them develop essential skills. We can't just, I mean, we could just send them out and say, okay, now tell your community, but there's developed ways in which they can learn these skills. And so we're going to look at many different ways that they can get involved. Some students or youth might be interested in public speaking, but maybe they don't have the skills or they haven't learned them yet. So we would spend a considerable amount of time looking at what are the actual skills that they'll need to speak in front of their peers and into the larger community. Communication, you know, how to get that message out, and then media development, again, that's a skill set, right? So they can't just go out and do it without some sort of skill base, and then they can get involved in the legislative, making policy change, but again, they're going to have a knowledge and skill base in order to then take the action to do that. Media literacy, problem assessment and analysis, community organization and collaboration. So those are some of the ways that the youth can get involved and build some skills to be able to make some change in their community. And then just talks about how it impacts the youth advocate. Again, it's going to improve their life skills, self-efficacy, and then increase their own confidence in not only themselves, but what they're talking about and making a change in their community.
And just to kind of piggyback on what Tracy's saying, with all of those skills, like I may not be wanting to do public speaking, I may be better at media development, like that's more of my kind of skill. So that way you have that, you know, group of students that bring a lot of different skills and techniques into, you know, at the table. So not everybody has to do public speaking, or not everybody has to do legislative skills. Like I'm not really good with legislative skills myself, so that would be something that I would love to do. But I may be interested more in media literacy, or really like showing how to communicate and collaborate with other organizations and agencies is really key. And then taking action. So in order to do anything, to take an action, to make a change, you have to first have the knowledge, the skills, and now let's have an event, let's do something, some campaign or whatever to make that change. And doing that could be through like community awareness, activities, events, the legislative action or policy change. We're going to dive into this a little bit more. Like this is a little bit boring right here, but we're going to show you really concrete examples to really get this ball going. So let's dive into it. As you see, you have this little, it's a student packet. And what we're going to do is basically show you. We did, on May 5th, just a couple weeks ago, we went to the Youth Summit that was done. Was anybody there at the Youth Summit on May 5th at the Clarion in Dunkirk? What we did was we kind of had like an adult with all the health teachers or youth, you know, leading agencies, and then we worked with the students, Tracy and I. The skills, the knowledge, the skills, and the action would honestly take a long time to do. But what we did in just a couple of hours with these students, these are peer-led, like, you know, so SAD groups, honor society, things like that, they came to this event. So Tracy and I worked with them for just a couple of hours, but again, that would honestly be a lot longer than a couple of hours. It would be months in the making, okay? So we gave them this packet. And what we did was, in order for them to understand what's going on with this epidemic, we provided the risk factors, which are essentially like the availability of alcohol and other drugs, for an example. Well, if, you know, we're going to show this in a second, but if the beer is next to the milk, you know, that's the availability in your own home. Or if you're at your friend's house and the beer is in, you know, your friend's parents' garage, that's another, you know, source of availability. And then you look at family. There's just different parental attitudes. So in other words, if your parents are like, you know what, I did marijuana, so it's fine if you do, that's like kind of the whole thing there. If they approve of, you know, marijuana in general, your child is more apt to use as well. And then obviously this ties into academic failure. If you use or have other risky behaviors, your chances of succeeding with your education, you know, it's not very, it doesn't always is the case, but it does happen where they don't go to school, they don't pass, they don't do their homework, etc. And then them as a friend or them as an individual, that if their friends use, they're more apt to use themselves too. So these are just different risks. And what we did was an activity with the youth. And we basically had them, a student stand in the middle, and we had them kind of, these are very like, not everyday terms. And I think it's important that we really get the terms from them more than us. And so what we did is we kind of asked them, we explained it a little more in depth, and then we had them like give us a highlighting word what they think it means to them. And so then we wrote it like on the board and basically had them as the risks. So, and then we wadded up a lot of different papers and we threw risks at an individual and said like, your mom uses or something like that. Like they just came up with these really great ideas of the different risks. But then as you turn the page, on the back side, these are the protective factors. And what this is basically saying, what is in that person's life that is actually protecting them to actually reduce the risks in their life. So we had them, the students, come up with a lot more, you know, wordage that they like to use. And then what we did was we had friends stand around the student to protect them. And then when the other students were trying to throw the risks at them, obviously it would bounce off and there wouldn't be as many risks to them, you know, so that they can lead a more of a positive lifestyle. So we did that activity with them and we made it make sense for them using their words versus ours, because our words, sometimes we don't make any sense and we want it to make sense for the youth. So then what we did, so that was the knowledge, and then we went over some of the knowledge of the opiates, some education on that, the perceived risk, which is basically a lot of people think and believe that opiates are not harmful because if it's prescribed by a doctor, you're okay. And so we're trying to change that whole thing as well. And then we went on to the skills. And as you see here, it's developing media, 8 simple steps. These are different examples of the skills that we were just talking about. And you kind of go over these questions with them. Again, it's going to take months to do this, so this is just a quick little version of this. I'm trying to find my little cheat sheet on that, actually. You just go through the different questions and ask them based on their skills. So like, what are you trying to accomplish broadly? Well, we're trying to obviously reduce the opiates, you know, the use of opiate and heroin. What objectives would move you toward that goal? For an example, getting parents to lock up or control the alcohol in the house might be a good idea, etc. And who are you trying to influence? Whose behaviors needs to change? Well, that could be students their age. It could be parents for just the knowledge of making sure that they do lock up their prescription pills. It's basically the whole community. And then what are some of the strategies they come up with? And then kind of developing a theme or a setting, meaning like what kind of like highlights do you want to make sure that the community gets from this, like a PSA or anything like that. So these are the kind of things that they go over and they practice it and they practice it and they get it until they nail it, because we want them to really have the skills before they go and to do the action. Is this making sense so far where we're at? Okay, good. And then the last piece, which is the most fun, is the action step. And this is where, I'm going to skip to this page here where it says One Voice Youth Empowerment Model. We had these students do a zombie project. And we brought in clothes and they kind of shredded them up and then they wore them like zombies. They had their hair all teased up, and if we had time we would have brought in makeup and made them look like real life zombies. And then we had them create posters, and it's basically saying that if you think that zombies are scary, you should take a look at your medicine cabinet. That's the whole kind of concept with this.
Just bringing awareness.
Yeah, bringing awareness of that. And so this comes up with like a checklist for them to go over the different steps to take in order for them to do the zombie project, okay? So then if you go to the next page, these are the different community awareness initiatives that they did in order to, you know, basically complete the zombie project. And so what we did is we developed a chant that said, what was it? Oh my gosh, I don't think I brought it.
If you think your medicine or zombies are scary, just look inside your, oh no, that wasn't the medicine cabinet.
That was part of the chant.
If you think zombies are a real fright.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it was a chant, and we had them practice it over and over again, and we were like in this little room just going like around like a, you know, protesting and just like a chant. And then when they lined up for the adults, we had them go into the adult room. And then when they lined up for the adults, at the very end of it, we had a zombie script. And what they said, they kind of, one student said the first line, the second student said the next line, and so on. And it says, if you think zombies are scary, take a look inside your medicine cabinet. Teens and young adults are abusing prescription drugs, and your home can be the source. If you keep prescription drugs in your medicine cabinet, kitchen, cupboard, or nightstand, they are not safe, and neither is your family. If you have these drugs in your home, and you should lock them up. Keep them out of reach, children, teens, friends, and other visitors. And if you have unused or expired medications, then take it to the box. And then they went in to say like the different places that they could take their prescription medicines to, such as Fredonia Police Department, Jamestown Police Department, Westfield Police Department, Chappaqua County Sheriff's Department, Silver Creek Sport Clerk's Office. And so they basically provided the awareness for themselves as well as the adults. A lot of the students didn't know anything about prescription pills at all, as far as that there's a problem with with opiates. And then when we showed the audience, the adults, they learned a lot too from it. So it was like a win-win, not only for the peers, you know, the youth, but also for the adults sitting in the room. So it's really a win-win. And then which obviously the goal is to prevent the youth from using. That's really the main goal. So, saying that, what did I do with my note? This is an actual example of the zombie walk that the Dover Youth to Youth did from this curriculum.
Is that the chant?
This is the chant.
This is the chant, yeah. Prescription take back this Saturday at the Dover Police, and then told the times. And as you can see right here, that's their youth to youth slogan there.
But can you go back just a second? The chant, yeah, it says, you think zombies are quite a sight. Your medicine cabinet has a really big fright. And so the students walked all the way around with all the adults in the room, and they literally walked like they were zombies, like they were like.
Well, at first they were really cool. At first they were like, bring it, guys.
But they really got into it, and the reason being is because then they got the knowledge and the skill, and they took ownership of it. So when they presented it, they really did a really good job, and they got really into it. And that's what's powerful about the action piece. There's so many things in this curriculum, which I'm probably going ahead of myself, but that they can get involved in. And we don't just have to stick to what this curriculum says. If they have ideas outside of the box that we haven't come up with yet, they're free to do that. They can really lead whatever their goal. I mean, we would pick a goal and the message that we want to get out, but then they can make it their own. So we could do a zombie project, or they could change it to, you know, clowns or aliens that are really scary. It doesn't have to be zombies. And it doesn't even have to be this. There's many other things in this toolkit.
It just so happens that zombies is the more enticing thing for youth right now. So it's the thing. It is the thing.
Yeah, so like Laurie said, you know, it really does flow knowledge, skill, and action. And so the One Voice, which is the curriculum, says that if it's implemented correctly or with fidelity, then youth advocates will increase their knowledge and skill. Once they've increased their knowledge and skill, then they'll increase their own protective factors in pro-social behavior. they will demonstrate positive change both personally and within their community. This is where they practice what they preach. So once they own it, then they have such a powerful impact on youth and then a community at large.
I think the other thing is that, I don't know if you ever heard of our old program, the Awareness Theater, that we used to run. I think that's a prime example of what we're talking about, is that John Blackman provided the knowledge and the skills, and then the action was really theater, you know, for them to perform. And Sheridan Smith is a perfect example. He was in Awareness Theater, and now we're starting another Awareness Theater now using Infinity students. And so I think, and Ange Heath is also helping him instruct the students, and it stays with them until adulthood. Like Sheridan has really good, as you can see, meditation skills and different life skills so that he's not currently using. And so it sticks with them until adulthood, you know? So that's that's amazing. Yes.
So here it has a breakdown of the modules, and this is like the appendix of curriculum, which we can send the curriculum around, but just so it gives you an idea, you know, it talks about recruitment, how to recruit these youth. Where do you go to find them? How to go about it? Alcohol info, they really focus a lot on alcohol, although we could focus on any drug that they, maybe just even in their own school, they think, you know, right now marijuana is a big deal. We want to raise awareness and put protective factors in place for just marijuana, because that's what they see as important right now. Might be different in another school. Another school might say, no, right now it's alcohol, or it's heroin, or it's prescription medications. So really whatever they see as the most important issue at the time, that's what's so great about this curriculum, is it can really be molded to whatever their needs are within their even small school or community. And then, you know, it even goes into presentation skills, media production, how to work with the press. I don't think that that's something that just every average person would understand how to do. So as an adult that's trying to maybe get this pulled together, you know, in different schools, I want to have that skill as well. Because if I don't have the skill and the knowledge, then I can't help the youth do that. So this is laid out really nicely that way. Activism, skills, policy change, all of these other things. I know we're getting to that time. So it even has where it gets into the campaigns that you can do. And like sticker shock, basically the students would go into the stores and put little stickers on alcohol bottles to bring awareness to how it affects the adolescent brain. We talked about the Zombie Project, which is what we focused on for the Youth Summit. They have the Love Your O's, which is just about oxygen and how important it is to stay away from cigarettes. And the Fridge campaign, which Laurie talked about briefly, is just that the idea that often, statistically, children will take their first drink or have their first exposure to alcohol in their very own home. It's right next to the milk. And there's, yeah, you know.
I'm just going to keep, yeah, because there's actual examples of this, so I'm going to, what she was talking about. And so here's a sticker shock right here that the students are putting on the alcohol. Basically saying, like, if you provide alcohol for minors, there's those penalties. We actually at CASA do the Parents Who Host Those the Most campaign around prom and graduation season. And then here are the different, these are actually from the Dover Youth, the students doing PSAs. And then the zombie, and then here's the like presentation. We'll give you just a quick example of one, which is not on here. Forget it. We're gonna skip that because it's not on the computer. And then the Fridge campaign that Tracy was just talking about, you know, the #1 source for teens is in your own refrigerator for alcohol.
And so they would come up with their own posters, you know, it says dump it or lock it up, keep track of it, know that you know, that is a risk factor for your child. And in the commercial, I wish we could show it, but it has where it's talking about how you think you have good kids, and sometimes that's the misunderstanding that, well, my kid's a good kid. Well, your kid can be a good kid, but they still are exposed to that, and even really good kids will make bad choices. And so, or, be curious, and so just bringing awareness to that.
Here are some other examples of different presentations and trainings that the youth actually create and do in front of everybody, and then you can take it to the policy change level of locally or statewide or nationally even, and then the teamwork, and then the legislative meetings. Here are the actual campaigns that the students created themselves and have it out in the community. So your kid's next drink might be right next to the milk, got info, prescription painkillers can cause nausea. So these are just some ideas of the different things that they have come up with. And then our very own Tracy Jespersen, just so everyone knows that our primary goal with the coalition is the prevention of opiate and heroin. But if the schools are saying we have more of a problem with marijuana, like Tracy was saying, we will go with what the school needs and wants. So Tracy's job, why don't you say what your job is to be, just real quick.
So as the coalition chair?
Yeah.
So what I am trying to do is find people within maybe starting in the school system that is interested to help get this up and running in their own maybe schools, so that we can, what we would like to do is the zombie project, because we wanted to start with one thing. If they don't want to do that, that's okay, but our goal is to bring this curriculum to a couple schools and pilot this and see if we can get groups of students together to learn the knowledge and the skill and then take the action, and then hopefully around October, November, we could get all of the schools to do a zombie project during the yearly take back prescription drugs awareness time, and we could all do the zombie project, and it would be really powerful, because then it could bring awareness to that there are drop-off locations, so you don't have to keep your prescription medications in your cabinet that you're not using anymore.
I think it's really powerful too for not only the school district, but if we can find a way to make sure that all of the school districts in Chautauqua County, north and south, are making that statement, then it's even more powerful to have the whole county, of the school students doing the zombie project. I think that would be really great. So that's what we're working on. If you are interested, I think please contact Tracy, because she's the one that's coordinating this. We have Casadega on board, we have Chautauqua Lake on board, and Clymer. So those are the three that we're starting with.
And I would also like to say, even if you're not associated with a school, but you know a group of kids that you might think would be interested in getting this information, please contact me or indicate that on the sign-up sheet in the back, or talk to me, and maybe we can coordinate something. So be looking for that, because I think it's going to be really exciting once we get everybody up and running.
Do you have any questions? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you have any questions about this program that we're trying to implement?
How long have you guys been looking for this program?
Literally like the last couple months.
Oh, it's a new program?
It's a very new thing.
What made you choose this program?
Julie Franco is actually the coalition coordinator. She's the one that found it.
What did you think about it?
What did we think about it? Youth. Oh, the youth. I'm sorry. I mixed you. The youth, actually, when we did the project at the youth summit, we asked their opinion as a whole with the adults there, like, what do you think about this? And we loved it because it was a really fun, engaging way to learn about this information.
Which one good?
Yes.
Is that after you did the zombie?
Yeah, we asked them, we kind of gathered the youth with the adults, hey, what did you think? And the adults asked them questions, and that's where after the zombie action thing, that's what the youth said, that they loved it. But they're just one focus group right now. It's so new that we only worked with one group so far.
And honestly, we're still getting acquainted with it. So it's a very new, it's a new thing.
This is our recruitment today.
Thank you.
What grades
is it focused at? Because you're talking about taking it into the schools. Is it more junior high, high school?
I would say late middle school, high school, if not mostly high school. But I think that we have to be age appropriate with this too. So I would say, 7th, 8th would be a good start.
But I'm wondering if that's not too late in this area. Unfortunately.
Well, and you know what, to be honest with you, I kind of dived into what they recommend right now, what they've been doing, what they have found successful. So that was kind of my thinking, is to go that route. But I just think that it's never too early to talk about drugs and alcohol, that's for sure. But we have to be kind of what the community thinks and needs more than what we think.
Well, I'm just thinking with the drugs, with the drugs and stuff that are now filtering into the middle schools.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
are as young as 5th grade.
Right.
You'll always have the kids that want to be part of SAD or want to be part of this.
Right.
But are those really the kids that you need to?
Right.
There actually is a curriculum, a program in here that they, I forget what it's named, but they like the students actually that are part of the program will dress up like a skunk, and they bring awareness, and it's very age appropriate information. So, and again, we're just kind of getting used to this curriculum too, so it's hard to answer all those questions. But I do know I have looked at that very briefly. So I think it can reach all age levels.
Yeah.
Do you have some socioeconomic diversity in your pilot programs?
We don't really have anybody, there's no specific group at this point. Like, there's no students have signed up as interested, but I haven't actually met with any of them yet, so.
So I mean, like in the schools that you're targeting, because you said you have 3 pilot schools?
Go ahead.
We have teachers who have said they'd be interested in help make it happen. But as far as, my idea is to start with already established groups, but to then open that up to more people. But the thing is, when you're trying to get something started, you have to go where the interest is.
Right.
So yeah, we definitely wouldn't just say like only SAD groups. We want to open it up to anybody that wants to get involved and interested.
The youth summit that they go to is actually run by BOCES, and they try to get students that are just considered leaders. And they don't necessarily have to be leaders as far as, okay, this is the most popular. It's sometimes the popular ones that you're going to see, but it's also people that just show demonstration of being a leader, but not necessarily involved in sports, in SAD. And it's just individuals that show that quality, that they have strength and leadership and could guide a group in that way. And so they've specifically asked schools to please send people that aren't necessarily in everything, but have those qualities to be able to be a leader within their
So, but it's not just from 1 or 2 schools?
No, it's even Cat County as well. They sometimes send.
And our larger goal is to have these schools break off. Like I would be a liaison, but that they could break off, and our hope is that our coalition could then get more copies of these in the future if there's really established groups within schools that want the toolkit. So again, this is very in the baby stages.
And we're saying we're starting with SAD or starting with them because those are groups that already are established, but then we want to add way more to it as much as we can.
We're just trying to get our foot in the door first and then open it up.
Yeah.
I think what you said, recruitment. So back to basics group, if that's, Freddie, if that's a group that you're doing, that would be ideal. Right at the middle school and Dunkirk.
Absolutely.
So it's really any group. It could be a church group.
Yeah.
It could be.
It doesn't even have to be in the school.
It doesn't have to be schools.
We just chose, because I'm already in the schools as a prevention educator, so I do have some, and Laurie as well has some already established relationships with some of the teachers, many of them. And so we're kind of looking in that direction first, just to get it up and running. Kind of go from there.
But I'm glad that you mentioned like the age thing, because like I haven't even looked at it too far. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, like we teach prevention of drug and alcohol in the schools, kindergarten and up. And so we have different ways of implementing that. So I'm sure that, yeah, the earlier the better.
I was going to say one thing about that. Part of the trouble with grant funding from state and federal sources is that they often require evidence-based programs. Mm-hmm. So you have to choose a program that has been listed by a federal agency as shown to work. Mm-hmm. And the big issue with age is that there aren't a ton of evidence-based programs out there for the little kids. Part of it is because it's hard to measure. Yeah, exactly. You're getting to concepts that are oftentimes ahead of their age level. So you ask them questions that you might think would be pretty straightforward, but it's too much for a kindergartner or elementary school student.
Well, I was even thinking more along the lines of like the 4th, 5th, 6th grade age group, only because those are the ones that you're starting to see using.
Yep, you're on the right path.
Our programs, we actually work with K all the way through college level students. But like Dan said, it's hard to measure that wheel changing from, what they learned at the beginning to what they learned at the end.
Well, I forget who spoke about it or his name, but the idea of the drug use is a symptom. And so digging a little bit deeper, we go in and do life skills training, because the idea is if they can be able to use skills in their life that are positive, those protective factors, we try to increase the protective factors so that then when they are faced with that decision to use, or they're having crisis in their life, and hopefully they can take a healthy alternative rather than turning to drugs and alcohol. So the earlier we do get in, you're right, the more effective. And I was going to say this Samantha Skunk program is geared toward pre-K through 2nd grade. So they we just haven't been very in depth about this yet. And it comes with a full costume.
And Laura, what programs are we doing kindergarten, 1st and 2nd?
So we do the Too Good for Drugs program, which is an evidence-based program, K through 2. And then 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we do the elementary life skills training, which is evidence-based. And then 6th, 7th, 8th is the middle school life skills. And then 9th through 12th, we have 2 curriculums that we use, and it's the high school life skills. And then we're doing the Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence. Those are all evidence-based programs that we do implement.
What does that mean, Too Good for?
Too Good for Drugs is actually a universal program that you implement with just going into any classroom with kindergarten through 2nd grade as an example, and we have a puppet that we use for each grade level, a different puppet to talk about good decision making, medicine versus candy, what is safe, unsafe, again, good decision making, things like that. Basically goal setting too. What's that?
What schools do you do that in?
We actually have that all with Casadega schools. It's in Clareville Elementary. We have that with K through 2. And then the Too Good for Drugs program, we're implementing also in the after school programs too, a lot more of the after school programs. And I'm trying to think of where else that we're going to be starting at. But we do a lot of elementary life skills, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
And that's many schools.
Yeah, many schools.
Dunkirk, Broughton, Chautauqua Lake,
North and South County.
Faulkner, Jamestown. So
yeah. And we can tailor it for at-risk groups. We go in with sometimes probation departments. We actually we're at the Jamestown Tech Academy. Tracy's there, which is more at-risk groups. We are working at Purcell Middle School with the 7th and 8th grade at-risk group with Mr. Conrad, the principal. So we kind of tailor it as long as the core objectives are at hand and we are doing it with fidelity. We can tailor it a little bit more for their needs. Because every school, every classroom is different.
I had one question. So the risk and protective factors that you were just talking about again, they are very, academic in their wording,
Yeah.
and so translating that to the kids
Yeah.
it sounds like a really good idea that, you just don't think of sometimes. My question is, what came out as sort of like the big ones or twos, a couple of risk factors, if you remember them, and what did they call them? Do you know?
We like wrote it down, but we haven't like printed them up yet.
I will say, and maybe this doesn't directly answer your question, but one of the biggest things that I remember them saying is that they were very unaware of the dangers of prescription drugs.
So like perceived risk of harm?
Yes,
Yeah.
perceived, yes.
Right.
And one of the protective factors ones in their words were hugs, not drugs. I remember that one that they came up with. Hugs, not drugs.
Protective factor would be like the parents saying, I love you.
I love you.
You're too good, for that, or they were just coming up with, and it was really powerful because like Laurie explained, when they had somebody, the kid that was the target standing there, and when they were first, they just had wads of paper and they were throwing them, and they were just yelling out in their own slang words appropriately all of the risk factors. And I think that it really, like you said, you got to put it in their language, but we can't pick that language for them. So we spent a good 15-20 minutes coming up with what they wanted to call it. So it was really cool.
And it was more of a connection with them.
Yes.
I'd like to see that since I work with Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helped us too, like where they're thinking, where they're at. Yeah. We have to cut it now, I'm sorry.